So our first speaker today for the afternoon session is Bess Clark, who is the General Manager for Project Marinus, Tas Networks. Bess has been heading up the Project Marinus development for the second Bass Strait electricity interconnector Marinus link, which is now in the design and approvals process and heading towards shovel readiness. So welcome, Bess, and we look forward to your presentation.
Thank you very much, Tammy, and hello everyone. It's been said I can talk underwater, so I've got a suitable backdrop today to test that out. And hopefully one day we'll be putting the second interconnector between Tasmania and mainland Australia across Bass Strait, and that's what I'm really pleased today to give you an update on the work we're doing to progress that link. So if I navigate the technology. So a reminder about what is Marinus Link. So Marinus Link is ultimately it's an energy and data exchange platform. So it's a high voltage direct current set of energy cables, and we're proposing 2 stages for Marinus Link, each of 750 megawatts. And to put that in context, Basslink's around 500 megawatts. And the average demand in Tasmania is in the order of 11 to 1200 megawatts. So it's a big interconnector in the scheme of Tasmania. In the scheme of the national market, where there's significant coal-fired generation retiring, it's just one part of the future energy solution. And Marinus Link is supported by converter stations that convert that high voltage direct current energy between the alternating current of our standard transmission networks in Victoria and Tasmania, and also by upgrades to the Tasmanian existing power system and some extensions to that existing system. And in addition to the energy cables, each of the links will include optical fibre cables that will support the operation of the link itself, but also provide greater data connectivity between Tasmania and mainland Australia. So if I turn to the next slide, this slide's just summarising the supporting transmission in Tasmania that's part of the greater Project Marinus and part of the Marinus Link project for the purposes of the RIT-T assessment, the Regulatory Investment Test assessment we are undertaking, and it's also part of the project as defined by AEMO in its integrated system plan. So as part of the overarching Project Marinus, we have the high voltage direct current link between Tasmania and Victoria, and we also have this upgrades to the Tasmanian transmission system. And this diagram here is showing the northwest developments, and what those developments do is they really strengthen our corridor between Palmerston, which is just near Cressy, through to Burnie. And Palmerston's a key hub in our network that connects a lot of our southern generation and load, and will connect the proposed Midlands renewable energy zone. And so we're strengthening that line right through to the Burnie area. And then we're also proposing a loop that connects Sheffield through to Staverton, which is near Sathana Power Station, and then a new proposed line from Staverton through to the Hampshire Hills area, and then looping back through to Burnie. And what that loop allows us to do is connect a whole range of proposed developments in that northwest renewable energy zone. And we've got a number of proponents in various stages of development of wind and pumped hydro projects in particular in that region. And it also allows us in the longer term to strengthen our network down to the west coast. So that's all part of the Marinus Link project. And I'll turn now to talk a little bit about the economic analysis we've done to support the project. So in transmission, we undertake an investment test called the Regulatory Investment Test, the RIT-T. And today, as I think Lance announced this morning, we have released, or are releasing, an updated modelling report outlining that RIT-T analysis. And that modelling report responds to feedback from a number of stakeholders that they wanted us to take into account AEMO's integrated system plan modelling, and all the assumptions and work and engagement that AEMO undertook to support the ISP. So we have based our analysis on the ISP. We've updated a few assumptions where there's later information, including from AEMO. And what that analysis shows is that Marinus Link is robust to a range of future market outcomes, and the project still passes the regulatory investment test. It still provides net benefits to customers in the NEM under a range of scenarios. And why it does that is because what Marinus Link is sorry, I'm moving my camera. It's basically a clean energy transport corridor, and it allows access to Tasmania's fantastic renewable energy resources, variable resources, and wind in particular. And we sit, you know, in Tasmania, little island in the roaring 40s, lots of wind, really high quality wind resource. We've got diversified load, so we winter peaking, the rest of Australia's summer peaking. The link allows access to Hydro Tasmania's existing hydro potential, which has some capacity to be repurposed, and Chris Gwynn's going to talk a bit more about pumped hydro, I believe, which is the other aspect that Marinus Link unlocks. And Tasmania's got some of Australia's lowest cost pumped hydro resources as well. So when you take it together, the cost of building Marinus Link and that supporting transmission, together with those lower cost resources, which are a mix of both sort of pure energy resources, but also firming resources, which the market will increasingly need, that's a lower cost solution than alternative solutions in the national market. So that's why the project passes the regulatory investment test. So the other thing that the regulatory investment test analysis looks at is the timing for the link. And so our analysis reinforces the work AEMO has done, and it really says that there are a whole different set of ways the market could unfold and pace of change. And one of those is a step change, which means that we're moving rapidly towards a renewable energy future, and that coal-fired generation will close more quickly than the current pace. And I guess we've heard this morning that a number of commentators and industry practitioners believe that we are at least already in the step change, and certainly Kerry Schott, chair of the ESB, has said she believes we're in the step change world. So what our analysis shows is that it's sensible for us to keep progressing Marinus Link so that we can have an investment decision by the 23-24 financial year, and that then allows us to make an investment decision to have the link ready for a step change world so that it can be in service from 27-28. But what the RIT-T is, it's really an option value assessment, because it also says if for some reason, if the NEM actually moves more slowly towards that clean energy future, we can assess the right timing for each stage of Marinus. So potentially it may not be required till a little bit later, and we can use the time between now and then to understand that pace of change and make the right investments so that customers only pay for what they need. So that RIT-T is out, is being loaded. I think my colleagues are furiously putting finishing touches on that at the moment, and that will be released today and available on our website. So turning now to a little bit of detail about some of the sensitivity analysis that we've done with that RIT-T analysis. So when you do a regulatory investment test, you look at a whole lot of scenarios. We based ours on AEMO's integrated system plan scenarios, and then we've undertaken some key sensitivities of some big things that could swing and potentially change outcomes. And what our analysis shows is that Marinus still provides net benefits with the sensitivities we've modelled. So we've modelled a world with lower gas prices than AEMO's ISP. We've modelled a world where Marinus Link costs more than our estimate. We've modelled a world where we see significant hydrogen uptake in Tasmania, and we've heard this morning that there's some real potential of that emerging, which is fantastic. And we've modelled a world with significantly lower battery storage costs. And in all those worlds, Marinus Link is still part of the lowest cost national electricity market. So if I turn for a minute to the analysis around battery storage, and this is a bit of a busy slide, we've had a lot of feedback, and there have been a number of commentators who, I guess, posed the question, why would you build a big interconnector between Tasmania and Victoria if you could just use batteries instead? And battery technology is moving fast, and it's just cheaper for customers to build batteries instead. So we have done some further analysis, and we have, all our scenarios see increased levels of battery uptake, including not necessarily strictly economic uptake, it's higher than that. And we've also run sensitivities around higher battery costs, and all the analysis still shows Marinus is part of the future. So batteries are certainly part of the future, but why Marinus, and indeed the ISP, still sees that there's a role for deep storage and pumped storage, and Chris, I imagine, is going to talk a little bit more about that in detail. But the analysis we've done is showing that the cost of building 12-hour storage, so that you can get it from pumped storage, or you could get it from having what are called daisy chain batteries. So you could get a 4-hour battery that then goes to another 4-hour battery that goes to another 4-hour battery. And we've assumed batteries will last 20 years, and we've assumed costs will come down over time for batteries. And our analysis is still showing that pumped hydro storage is about half the cost that battery storage would be. So in a market that's going to need deep storage, because there'll be times when it's not sunny and it's not windy, and we need a lot amount of energy to be available to meet our load, pumped hydro is part of the lowest cost solution. And Tassie's got some of the best hydro and pumped hydro around. So, and there's a bit more explanation about our analysis in that RIT-T paper. So turning now to another issue that rightly gets a lot of discussion when people think about Marinus Link, and that's the question of who's going to pay for the service that Marinus Link provides. So which customers will pay for the service? The modelling we've done shows that customers right across the national electricity market will be better off with Marinus Link in service. And we're doing some further pricing modelling that we intend to share in coming months. The current transmission pricing model it's really a legacy model of a world where we had state-based energy markets. And it's really based on people who live near assets paying for those assets. Whereas we're moving to a market where we're moving energy right around Australia, and that interconnection is part of getting the lowest cost energy to customers. And those customers may not actually be in the region where the assets are being built. So the issue of the mismatch is recognised, and what was the COAG energy ministers, they asked the Energy Security Board to do some work on this. They progressed that work, and it's now being taken forward by the new council, the Cabinet Reform Committee of the new Energy Cabinet Reform Committee, which has replaced the COAG energy ministers. So we're supporting that work because we recognise it's really important that we have the right customer pricing outcome for Marinus Link, and indeed for interconnectors in general. So Marinus Link is good for customers, and it's also fantastic for the environment. So what our RIT-T modelling shows, that in a world where you don't have Marinus Link, to get the firming capacity, so get that energy can turn on when customers need it, you need to build more gas-fired power stations and operate existing gas-fired power stations to provide that firming service. And with Marinus in place, you need less gas-fired generation, and you save carbon dioxide emissions into the environment. So Marinus Link's not just good for the energy market, it's good for the planet. There's a lot of work that's underway to progress the project. We're operating, we've got $56 million of Australian government grant funding to keep the project moving through the early design and approvals works. We're doing a lot of work on the technical design and the specifications, because we need to make sure this link works in a power system that's changing really rapidly. We are doing a whole range of procurements for the design and approval activities underway, and we're also starting to scope up the very large procurements ahead for the construction phase. And of course, we're really taking seriously the buy local dimension, both in Tasmania and in Victoria, so that our local communities get the value that this work can bring. We've done a whole range of survey work. So we've surveyed the marine environment, and we have further survey work ahead. We've surveyed the land environment in Tasmania and Victoria, again with more work ahead over coming months and years. We have engaged with a range of stakeholders, particularly in Tasmania and Victoria, and we will shortly be engaging further with landowners on the route between Palmerston and just before Burnie into the Haybridge area. And we're also preparing our engagement into Victoria on the proposed route there. So look out for further engagement opportunities in the coming weeks and months. We're doing a whole range of work to make sure we can get the necessary environment and planning approvals, and obviously that community consultation is a big part of that, and that survey work's a big part of that. And in Tasmania, we've been given major infrastructure development approval status, so we'll go through a process that will consider that supporting transmission across council boundaries, which will help make it a more efficient end-to-end process. And as I mentioned, we've got the RIT-T analysis that was released today, and we'll be running webinars on that and engaging with stakeholders further on that, and seek submissions from stakeholders on that. The other thing to notice is that this project is great for economic stimulus. So the Prime Minister included this as one of 15 projects to help Australia's economic stimulus and recovery. And this project is already creating jobs, with many, many more to come. So my project team has in the order of 50 people, predominantly in Tasmania, some based in Victoria and elsewhere. And we are engaging a range of service providers to help us with our work, and there are service providers across a whole range of disciplines. And moving forward, there's a big, obviously, engineering and construction project with, we estimate 1,400 jobs at peak construction in Tasmania and in Victoria. So this project is already delivering jobs and stimulus, and that will only grow into the future. In terms of our timeline, we've completed the business case assessment. We've started the design and approvals work. We're on track to that timeline our RIT-T tells us makes sense, which is to have this ready as soon as possible for a step change world. So that's to have it ready to have an investment decision in the 27, 28 years, so we could start construction from then. And then we anticipate the second link would be constructed 2 or 3 years later, when the market needs that next lot of energy and firming capacity. So we'll continue to work towards that timeline so that we can be ready to meet the national electricity market needs in a world that looks very much like a step change scenario. In terms of next steps, did I mention we've got a RIT-T supplementary analysis report coming out today, and we will be engaging on that because we take very seriously the feedback from stakeholders, and we want to get submissions and be able to consider those as we finalise our analysis. We will be engaging on that further pricing modelling, and we've got the route releases coming very shortly in Tasmania and Victoria. There'll be a whole range of community engagement over coming months and years as we progress the project, engage with communities about routes, and do the necessary surveys and planning and approvals work. And alongside all that, we'll continue to progress the technical design and the procurement necessary to deliver the work. So there's some details there if you'd like to contact our team. We're always interested to hear from stakeholders and offer briefings to stakeholders on particular matters. But in summary, this is a fantastic project It provides benefits to customers in the electricity market in Tasmania and in the broader national market. It provides benefits to regional economies in Tasmania and in Victoria, and it's good for the planet. So it's a fantastic project, and I feel very privileged to be leading it within Tas Networks. Thank you.